Okay, so this entire impeachment thing all stems from Donald Trump wanting to have a story during the election about corruption involving the person he thought he'd be running against, Joe Biden. Here's the crazy thing. Imagine a world in which there were stories of corruption about Donald Trump and his administration. I know it seems crazy, but like it could potentially happen if we actually were allowed to know what was going on. But the thing is, they block information. I've got a great example of it. I'm not saying this is a story that is definitely corrupt or proves that corrupt things were happening, but it doesn't look good and we don't get to know what was actually going on. So let's jump back a few years and we're gonna catch up and see what's going on involving Jared Kushner in this case. Back in November 2017, Trump was on a 12-day tour through Asia, his second major international trip since he became president. He was doing all these things in Beijing, bilateral meetings, meet and greets, speeches, all of that. That's all official and on the agenda. But one thing wasn't on the presidential agenda. That was a meeting with private equity investors convened by Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law and senior advisor, and US Ambassador Terry Branstad. So this was not just a meeting that Jared Kushner was at, it was a meeting he put together, and not with government officials, but private equity investors, which is interesting considering the Kushner family's like business interests around real estate and all of that. So at the time of the meeting, the Kushner family was under fire for its pursuit of overseas investors, while Jared Kushner occupied a senior role advising the president. So that's the concerns about the family. Now Kushner reportedly divested his stock in the family business and his siblings took over. So obviously if he's not personally gonna financially benefit, why would he care about what happens to his family's business? Now interestingly, in the months immediately prior to that meeting, his sister, Nicole Kushner Meyer, referred to Jared at an event that was urging wealthy Chinese investors to buy $500,000 visas to come to the US and participate in an upcoming New Jersey project. So his family is under like a lot of suspicion about them looking into this, the international potential investors. His sister specifically mentions him to try to get them to spend tons of money to come work potentially with the Kushners on real estate. He goes on a trip in an official government capacity, not a business capacity, official government capacity with Donald Trump, and then meets off the books with private equity investors. Now again, I don't know for sure what was done in that meeting, but it certainly doesn't look good considering all of the stuff involving Kushner's family and the propensity of everyone in the Trump administration to self-deal in these sorts of things. So here's the thing, thankfully CNBC, to their credit, they have been trying to find out what actually happened in that meeting. They sought to learn about the agenda at the private investor meeting convened by Jared Kushner. A White House official had subsequently confirmed the existence of the meeting to CNBC, but when pressed to say who was there, the official would only say that no real estate investors were present. And the White House and the State Department did not respond to additional requests for information about the meeting. They were probably just busy. So back then, and we're talking about a couple of years, CNBC is like, okay, that's suspicious and they're not gonna tell us willingly what's going on. So they filed a request under the Freedom of Information Act with the State Department, requesting online and analog communications among the officials that were present at that meeting, as well as information about who was actually present. So the State Department acknowledged the request in December of 2017, but suggested that getting the information would probably take a long time because of the quote, unusual circumstances around the request. Now, if you read that sentence and you wonder, what are you talking about unusual circumstances? We want the information. That's what FOIA is for. It's not unusual, it's usual. Yeah, I don't know, they didn't provide any additional information. CNBC went back and forth with the State Department for more than a year trying to get the information, and they refused to actually do so. Now, I want you to bear in mind, during the first 2 years of the Trump administration, the State Department processed 83% of self-described complex FOIA requests in less than 400 days. So almost always, even if it's complex, it takes less than 400 days. Now look, that's still a really long time, but at least you'll get the information. They've been going back and forth for like close to 2 years now since that meeting. Last October, the State Department finally provided a date when they will provide the information. You wanna know what it is? July 23rd, 2021. 3.5 years after the initial filing. That's way over 1,000 days. And interestingly, happens on the other side of the 2020 presidential election, which is certainly convenient. Why is it so complicated to turn over some emails? Well, it's not complicated administratively, but it might be complicated politically because it probably would look really bad. And the last thing Donald Trump wants hurting him is a corruption scandal involving someone's nephew or her son or whatever. And that's what he has on his hands. And again, I cannot say that anything truly corrupt happened at this meeting, but when you look at the process, how resistant they've been to anyone finding out what happened there, the fact that they're pushing it way past the next election, that has the appearance of just outright corruption. I think we can all agree on that there. And this is the sort of benign, like you're not gonna hear about this story again. It just pops up now. Maybe someday we'll find out the information. It'll look really bad in 2021 if he's president then. But are they gonna do anything? No, of course they're not gonna do anything. It's just totally allowed corruption, and we move on with American democracy. Thank you for watching this clip from the Damage Report. For more content from the show and access to TYT Network members-only exclusives, go to tyt.com/Brooke. Wait, no, it's tyt.com/John. Go to tyt.com/John to sign up.